This question comes from Jamie, who asks, if you somehow dug a perfectly straight tunnel directly through the center of the Earth, pole to pole, and jumped in, what would actually happen? Would you come out the other side? And how long would it take? Great question, Jamie. The answer involves gravity, a surprising number, and what might be the most elegant commute in the history of physics. Let's dig. The setup. First, the ground rules. We are going to ignore several deeply inconvenient realities. The extreme heat of Earth's interior, the molten iron outer core, the crushing pressures that increase steadily as you descend, and the considerable engineering challenge of drilling through 12,742 kilometers of rock, silicate mantle, and liquid metal. We will assume the tunnel is perfectly smooth, perfectly straight, runs directly from the North Pole to the South Pole, and is completely sealed in vacuum, no air whatsoever. Perfect frictionless conditions throughout. This is a thought experiment, not a construction project. You walk to the edge of the tunnel opening at the North Pole. Below you is pure darkness extending further than any mine shaft or borehole ever drilled by human hands. You lean forward, you let go. The first few minutes. For the first few seconds, nothing feels unusual at all. Gravity pulls you downward exactly as expected. You accelerate steadily, just as in any free fall from a great height. After about 20 seconds, you are already moving at roughly 200 meters per second, faster than a commercial aircraft at cruising speed. The tunnel walls are a blur. After 1 minute, you are deep below the surface in complete darkness, still accelerating. But here is where physics begins to behave in a way that surprises most people. As you fall deeper into the Earth, the gravitational force pulling you toward the center actually decreases. Gravity inside the Earth is not the same constant force you feel on the surface. The deeper you go, the less mass remains below you pulling you downward, because an increasing portion of Earth's total mass is now above you, pulling you back. These forces partially cancel each other. The net gravitational force decreases in a perfectly linear way as you approach the center. At the exact center of the Earth, 6,371 kilometers down, the gravitational force on your body is precisely zero. Every atom of the entire planet pulls on you simultaneously from all directions at once. You are in perfect gravitational balance. For one brief moment, passing through the very center of the Earth, you are completely weightless. The center. You pass through the center of the Earth at your maximum velocity. At this exact point, you are moving at approximately 7.9 kilometers per second, roughly 28,400 kilometers per hour. This number is worth pausing on. It is the same orbital velocity required to maintain a circular orbit at the surface of the Earth. The speed at which the International Space Station would need to travel if it somehow skimmed the ground. You are, for one brief moment, moving as fast as a satellite. This is also the fastest you will move during the entire journey. The moment you pass the center, gravity switches sides. Every meter you travel beyond the center, the force pulling you back increases. You are now decelerating. The same mathematics that accelerated you through the first 6,371 kilometers now decelerates you through the second 6,371 kilometers with perfect and complete symmetry. The force acting on you is always directed toward the center and always precisely proportional to your distance from it. Physicists recognize this immediately as simple harmonic motion. The same mathematics governing a pendulum, a mass on a spring, a child swinging back and forth. You are not simply falling through a tunnel. You are oscillating through the planet itself. The other side. You emerge at the South Pole exactly as the mathematics predicted. Your velocity at the surface on the other side is precisely zero. You decelerated gradually throughout the entire second half of the journey, and you arrive at the tunnel opening at the South Pole with just enough remaining kinetic energy to reach the rim, and not a single millimeter beyond. You float gently up to the surface and stop. No crash landing, no violent exit, just a smooth, quiet arrival at the edge of a hole in the Antarctic ice. The total travel time from North Pole to South Pole straight through the center of the Earth, 42 minutes and 12 seconds. This number is one of the genuinely beautiful results of classical physics. And here is the remarkable part. It does not depend on the length of the tunnel. It does not depend on the angle. Any straight tunnel through the Earth, regardless of where it starts, where it ends, how long it is, takes exactly 42 minutes in free fall to traverse. A short tunnel connecting two nearby cities takes 42 minutes. A long tunnel stretching across an entire hemisphere takes 42 minutes. The geometry changes entirely. The time does not change at all. This result comes from the same gravitational equations that govern orbital mechanics. A low Earth orbit takes approximately 84 minutes to complete, exactly twice the tunnel transit time. Not a coincidence. The same underlying mathematics produces both answers. What happens next? You step out at the South Pole onto the Antarctic ice. You feel fine. You are at rest. The air is cold. The stars above are the same stars you have always known. Nothing about the experience from the outside, like just stepping out of a hole in the ice, would hint at what you just traveled through. You have crossed an entire planet in 42 minutes, using no fuel, no engine, and no effort beyond a single step forward. If you immediately step back into the tunnel, you fall back in. Gravity accelerates you downward again. You pass through weightlessness at the center, decelerate through the second half, and arrive back at the North Pole in exactly 42 more minutes. Total round trip, 84 minutes. You return to your starting point at precisely zero velocity, having expended no energy whatsoever. You could repeat this indefinitely. Gravity borrowed your potential energy, converted it entirely to speed, and returned every single joule precisely on schedule. This system is as close to a perpetual transport mechanism as physics allows, driven entirely by a hole in the mass of the planet surrounding it. The complications. Now let's restore the realities we suspended. Air resistance is the most immediate problem. In a tunnel filled with air, drag would slow you on the descent and again on the return. You would oscillate with decreasing amplitude on each pass like a pendulum, slowing in thick syrup, and eventually come to rest floating weightlessly at the center of the Earth, 6,371 kilometers from the surface in every direction. No way out without propulsion. You would be permanently suspended at the exact center of the planet. Temperature follows. Earth's core sits at approximately 5,100 degrees Celsius, comparable to the surface of the Sun. You would be vaporized somewhere near the outer core long before reaching the center. Pressure arrives alongside it. Core pressure reaches around 360 gigapascals, 3.6 million times atmospheric pressure. No known material survives this intact. And for scale, the deepest hole humans have ever drilled is the Kola super deep borehole in Russia. Approximately 12 kilometers deep, completed after 24 years of continuous drilling. Earth's center is 6,371 kilometers away. We have completed roughly 0.2% of the required distance. The final answer. So what actually happens when you jump into a frictionless vacuum tunnel through the Earth? First half, constant acceleration toward the center. At the center, weightless, moving at 7.9 kilometers per second. Second half, perfect deceleration, mirror image of the descent. Total time, 42 minutes and 12 seconds. For any tunnel, any angle, any length. Exit velocity, exactly zero. You stop precisely at the far surface. With air in the tunnel, oscillation dampens, you stop at the center permanently with real heat and pressure. The journey ends long before the center. The beautiful truth, gravity does all the work and returns every joule. Gravity is not just a force pulling you down. Given the right path, it becomes a perfect engine, converting potential energy to speed, then returning everything on schedule without waste. A hole through the center of the Earth. No fuel, no engine, no ticket. Just 42 minutes and the planet does the rest.